612 ABC Brisbane.
16 minutes past 7. What actions would you take to get out of the way of an ambulance with lights and sirens coming up behind you? A study has shown that 29% of drivers, just under a third, will drive illegally to allow an ambulance through. Ambulance drivers have raised concerns about this. Yes, they want to get through, but what they're seeing are drivers mounting median strips, driving on the wrong side of the road and making illegal turns. According to the study, 34% of us, just over a third, think it's okay to drive on the footpath to allow an emergency vehicle to pass. And you know what? Count me in that 34%. Whatever it takes, surely. But what's the law about moving out of the way for emergency vehicles? Andrew Wiseman is here from Wiseman Lawyers. Andrew, good morning.
Morning, Spencer.
Does the law specify what actions drivers can or should take when an emergency vehicle is driving with lights and sirens?
Look, the bottom line is it states that you've got to take every step to get out of the way of a vehicle which either has lights and or sirens on safely. So safely means within the terms of the law. So no, you can't break the law to get out of the way of a emergency vehicle. But that said, the definition of road is quite broad, and basically road-related areas does include footpaths. So in the event that a person was to mount a footpath, I'd almost suggest that that wouldn't be deemed illegal, but obviously driving on the side of the road or mounting traffic islands and putting other pedestrians and other motorists at risk would be illegal. But yeah, it's pretty black and white. It must be done safely, so you can't actually break the law. But as I said, road-related areas is quite broad, so I'd almost suggest that you would get away with mounting a footpath, but that'd be pretty much the extent of it.
But what about, I mean, surely it would be treated case by case, would it not, by a court if it came to that? Say you're at the front at the traffic lights. There are two lanes of traffic and the light's red and you're one of the first two cars. Say there's you and another car next to you and the ambulance comes up behind you. If you nudge across the line just slightly into the intersection so that the ambulance can get through, because if you don't, that ambulance, it can't move. It'll change its siren to the one that barks at you and makes you feel bad that you're not moving. Surely no one's going to charge you with moving out of the way in that situation. Yeah,
look, the police have always got a discretion as to whether or not they're going to charge any person for any offence. And in the event that you were at a red light, that the intersection was clear and you had no choice but to breach that red light in order to let the emergency vehicle go on its way. Obviously, it is case by case, but I'd almost suggest that you'd have a reasonable defence at getting out of it. I mean, the courts are reasonable. As much as the law, to a large extent, is black and white, the courts are sensible in their application of the law. And, if someone at a emergency situation is in dire need of emergency help and a motorist has got a choice of either hindering that emergency vehicle or attracting an infringement notice, I'd say that, as you said, on a case-by-case scenario, the courts would apply the law quite conservatively.
Have you ever heard of someone being charged in that's the sort of scenario or situation?
No, to be honest, I haven't. Basically, look, I've never had anyone ring me up and say, look, I've received a ticket because I was getting out of the way of an emergency vehicle. And I'd almost suggest that in those instances the police would exercise their discretion and if someone was clearly doing the right thing by getting out of the way of the emergency vehicle whilst not causing a danger to other motorists, I'd suggest in a lot of instances that the infringement notice wouldn't even be issued.
Thanks for your time this morning, Andrew. Appreciate it.
No worries, Spencer. Take care.
Thank you. You too, Andrew Wiseman from Wiseman Lawyers, traffic law specialist in Brisbane. So I wonder what you've seen other people do, because as I mentioned before, if you're a pedestrian and you hear a siren coming, it's not just me, is it? You tend to stop and watch.